intense. Here comes that next cold front. This is going to bring in more widespread thunderstorms for tomorrow. And then any energy that tries to move into the Gulf, move onshore, as this works through, it's going to kick it farther south instead of getting caught up in it like we typically see with the boundaries. But notice as we get towards Wednesday night, still storms into Virginia all the way down through the 80s, 88 in Charlotte, Columbus to Albany, Valdosta around 90, even Savannah and Swainsboro. But where we do still have the clouds and some showers trying to stick around will be in the 70s. Looking towards Columbia, South Carolina, stormy today, tomorrow. Temperatures don't drop a whole lot, but we will dry out as we head towards the weekend. 7. Now this is the energy that we're going to be watching for. As that tries to work in, that we will start to see some storms riding along the Louisiana, but then this cold front starts to come through, and that's going to help push any of that active weather, that tropical-like energy back down into the Gulf. So there could be 6. We might be rain cold at times, but it's still going to feel well above that 100-degree mark in places like Austin and Corpus Christi and Brownsville. There's the stalled cold front from yesterday. Still some more storms popping up around southeastern Louisiana. We might have a storm or two in central Texas, but this cold front that swings through is going to help steer anything that tries to develop in the Gulf. This is that low pressure center that we're going to be monitoring. Typically, we see it kind of catch on to the cold front and get pulled across, but this time, as of now, the latest forecast is showing that cold front might steer it back farther to the south. So we'll have to see what that does by the end of the week. Otherwise, with what's on the way, not expecting a ton of rain. Most of us will see just about an inch in central Texas, but southeastern Louisiana, we might see 2-3 inches between now and Thursday. Extended forecast in New Orleans tomorrow is the better day to see those thunderstorms out there today, tomorrow. Corpus Christi, San Antonio, Houston, no rainy icons on the map as we aren't expecting washout concerns the next few days. Baton Rouge will be following that forecast today and tomorrow for heavy downpours. Otherwise, temperatures still hanging out in the upper 80s. As we look towards places in Oklahoma, Enid over towards Tulsa and into southern portions of Kansas, this is along the cold front that might have some of the stronger storms today. As that works in, it will all be driven by daytime heating. Not expecting a ton of rain associated with it, but you can see 5, 6, 7 o'clock. Then that cold front starts to push to the south, more or less just a driving factor for the upper level winds, bringing in some drier air. So the humidity will drop off just a bit, but not anticipating a ton of rain associated with it. It's just a little too far to the south and too quick after the previous cold towards some of these areas. Now, Larry is spinning, you can see, several hundreds of miles north and northeast of Puerto Rico and southeast of Bermuda, but headed that general direction. We also have an area to watch into the Gulf of Mexico. If a low pressure center develops, it's likely to try and move to the northeast. That's where climatology tells us the general movement is. We'll detail that in just a moment. But first, let's start with Larry. As we continue to see us going towards the middle of September, we are at peak hurricane season. Doesn't mean that we don't have any more storms to get through. Even though we just have 2 areas to watch in the Atlantic, it can still turn very active very quickly this time of year. You'll notice Hurricane Larry there with winds sustained at 120 miles per hour at its core, moving to the northwest at 10 miles per hour. Still a Category 3 hurricane. Forecast models are suggesting that it stays at that northwest movement, but as there is that ridge that's in the open waters, it's going to get caught up in the winds and pushed to the north, then northeast. There's also a cold front coming out of the United States by the end of the week, and that's also going to help steer this away from the United States. But a lot of models are in agreement with that. Even though the center of that circulation is expected to stay well away from the United States and away from Bermuda, doesn't mean that we won't get the heavy rain in Bermuda, the gusty winds, as well as the choppy surf. Now, there are marine alerts in effect along Massachusetts, down through Jersey, and into areas of the Chesapeake Bay, maybe some choppier waves at times as that system gets closer. You'll notice that we are expecting to see wave heights exceeding 10 feet as we go towards Thursday, Friday, especially near the Bermuda area. There could be some coastal flooding concerns with how much that sea is going to continue to pick up. Notice as we get towards Friday, the center starts to turn, but still we're looking at about 10-foot waves off the coast of the United States as well. Now, this area that we're following, this one could be a little interesting by the end of the week, depending on where it tracks. As of right now, it hasn't quite developed. It's in a high shear environment, so a low pressure center at the surface could take shape. As it moves to the north, low shear, meaning that we have that changing wind and direction with height. So as you go up in the atmosphere plus speed, the less there is of that changing wind, the more it can develop. Now, when there's a lot of changing wind and direction as you go up in the atmosphere, it kind of shreds those tropical systems. They like when there's low shear. The waters also are a little bit cooler, but still warm enough that there could be development on the eastern side of the Gulf of Mexico because of the system that already moved through. There was a lot of upwelling, a lot of mixing, so the waters cooled down just a bit. Models, though, in general, are all over the place as to where this is going to track because there's a couple of cold fronts that are working through the United States, and as they hit that energy, well, it's going to steer it. And then right now, the models aren't really sure where it's going to steer. Here comes the cold front. There's that development. So as that tries to push on shore, this cold front's going to try and push it back into the open waters. It's never good when they sit and spin in the open waters. You can still get major impacts and flooding concerns unless it's far enough away. And by Friday, our in-house forecast model is suggesting that it stays just far enough away that we just see rain showers trying to work into southeastern Louisiana. But it's a system that we are going to be tracking because it could still turn into Mindy. Now let's take you into the lower 48, talk about what's happening now with radar.
Yeah, we're going to look there at Green Bay, Wisconsin this morning. Haven't seen the storms there into that part of northeast Wisconsin just yet, but there are some storms to the north.